Adichie has been writing since she was a little girl growing up in the sleepy university town of Nsukka in southeastern Nigeria. She is the fifth of 6 children. Her mother was a university administrator, her father a math professor. She was rarely without a book and could often be found scribbling her own stories.
So what sorts of things would you write about when you were a child?
I was the successfully brainwashed child growing up in a colonized country. I was reading children's books about English children. So I wrote, my books were called The Smiths and The Hopscotch and On Macintosh Lane, things like that.
Very Nigerian.
Very. All the characters had blue eyes.
Oh, goodness.
I think this is true of many young kids growing up in India, in Nigeria, in Ghana. I think this is
in America.
It wasn't until she discovered the works of renowned Nigerian author Chinua Achebe that she began to imagine a world beyond Macintosh Lane.
And I often say that Chinua Achebe is the writer who gave me permission to write. So when you start writing, you have never been to England, you've never tasted an apple, you've never seen snow, but you're writing about people playing in the snow, people eating apples, because that's what that's what the books around you have reflected. Mm-hmm. And then you read something so different and you realize, oh, it's sort of this glorious shock. Mm-hmm. And that's what Chinua Achebe did for me. And I mean, it was Chinua Achebe and Kamara Lai, who wrote a book called The African Child, that just completely, I thought, oh, right, so I can, it's okay.
And is it true that you grew up in Chinua Achebe's home, actually?
I did.
I mean, talk about symbolism.
I know, it's very strange. It's very strange. But it wasn't his. The house belonged to the university. His family had lived in it and moved out.
It's as if he left you quite the present, huh?
I know, it's so odd. I mean, and it's so funny that I really didn't think very much of this until I mentioned it to my editor before my first novel came out.
And what did she have to say upon that realization?
She said, that's the most important thing you've told me. She said, it has to go in your biography behind the book.
Adichie did well in school and excelled in writing, but her parents expected her to become a doctor. She eventually earned a creative writing degree.
I just thought, all right, I will do it, and then I'll write. I thought, actually, I had planned that I would become a psychiatrist and that I would mine my patients' private lives for story material. This was the plan. And then after a year and a half of medical school, I was so unhappy and most of all, I was bored. I was so bored. I would sit there in class scribbling poetry behind my notebooks, and I just didn't care. And I realized, you have to care enough to become a doctor. It's not just sort of passing the exams. So I just thought, I should leave. Mm-hmm. And I think it's probably, now I look back, the best thing I did.
When you achieve success at such an early age, I mean, what are you, 31 at this point?
Almost 32.
Almost 32. Does that scare you? You've had such a huge success. Do you worry that you won't be able to keep up that level?
Yeah, a woman, very nice woman in England wrote to me and said, I really loved Half of a Yellow Sun, but it makes me very sad because I know you will never match this. And I wrote her back and I said, thank you so much for telling me the truths I needed to hear.
That was very gracious of you.
Yes, I think I was being quite sarcastic when I wrote that, and I hope she, but she meant well.
But is that something that you worry about, that you won't be able to match the success of your previous books?
No, I don't. What I worry about is that I won't be able to write what I am happy with. For me, the thought of life without writing is unbearable. And I worry about, what if I wake up one day and I can't? So it's not so much that I produce books that people don't like. It's that I wake up and I just can't write a sentence. It's one of my greatest fears.
Adichie is hard at work on yet another project. Will it be a novel? Another collection of short stories? If she knows, she's not sharing.
I want to be honest and true to myself. I want to write what I can stand up and defend when I am 75, if I live to be 75. I want to look at myself in the mirror and like the parts I can't see.